Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is part of the Keyfactor Plus series, where we at Keyfactor are bringing in some of our best partners to talk about how security really takes a village, and we want to highlight some of our integrations. So today we are kicking off with Delinea, and we have Nonna Vilk, who is a product manager of Tech Alliances Integrations. Nonna, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, Mitch.
Awesome. Well, I also have with my side Mark Thwaites. He is our senior channel solutions engineer, and he's going to actually walk us through a demo today. So, what I want to talk about here, just very briefly, a couple of housekeeping items. Over on the right hand side, we do have a little what looks like a paper clip. Click on that, you'll be able to connect with all of us via LinkedIn. Make sure to be monitoring that chat, as we will have a couple links that we'll want to drop through for some information that you might want to grab. And then also, please, we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this. So if you have any questions, drop those in the Q&A. We'll monitor that as we go through. And at the end, if we have some time left, we'll be able to answer those. But if you're watching this on demand, please also enter those. We will get those pushed over to us, and then we'll also be able to get right back with you. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So we're going to be talking today about integrating Keyfactor Command with Secret Server from Delinea for secure certificate lifecycle management. So I want to start off just with a quick introduction. So the main reason you're probably here is you know this already. PKI is critical infrastructure. It's no longer just a piece of hardware or a piece of software. It permeates your entire organization. All the way, if you're developing products, from the initial design to the cloud base to everything else that's going to be involved with it, you can see that it's no longer just connecting or securing your servers or whatever is on your closed local network. Now it is just everywhere. And we're constantly seeing new and different applications every day. And on average, an organization is dealing with at least 8 systems that are connected that have something to do with either certificates or passwords or anything like that that's going to make sure that they're connected to the entire system. So we at Keyfactor, we have developed an entire solution stack around this. So we have EJBCA working as your PKI and your certificate authorities. We have Command and Command for IoT to work with certificate lifecycle management and automation. We do secure software, code, document signing, all of that fun stuff with Sign Server and Signum. And all the way at the very core, we have Bouncy Castle, which is, if you're not familiar with it, crypto libraries with APIs, sorry. And those really act as the foundation. But as you can tell by the fact that we're doing a presentation here with a great partner like Delinea, we know it takes more than just our solution to be able to secure an entire organization. So especially as we start to take a look at all those different pieces that we were talking about on the previous slide, all those different systems, well, we know that part of good hygiene is password rotation or credential rotation. And that's not something that we necessarily do, but that's where Delinea comes in and provides a great solution. So I don't want to steal her thunder here, but just know that that's where we're ultimately getting with this is Nonna will talk about how a PAM solution really enhances a certificate lifecycle management solution. So with that, Nonna, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mitch. Again, my name is Nonna Vilk, and I am the Integration and Tech Alliance Product Manager with Delinea. I would like to echo what has been presented by Mitch and address an overall multiple challenges that our customer face with non-human identities. Non-human outnumber human identities, I would say about 1 to 10 ratio at least today. There are many non-human identity types with different purposes, like service account, keys, workloads, making it very hard to document and track. The rapid proliferation of dynamically created and deleted non-human accounts, such as service account, apps, bots, introduces a significant management complexities, posing various operational challenges. There is no consistent governance today or management throughout the lifecycle of non-human identities, as these are not managed by traditional IAM or IGA solutions today. Most are created manually by IT staff, meaning that many non-human identities are granted excessive privileges, often mirroring those of human admins. Adding to the problem is the fact that human ownership is often very hard to detect resulting in less monitoring than human accounts, allowing attackers more time to exploit. It is also compounded by the ease of creating these identities in cloud environments. Developers and system admins frequently create new accounts, resulting in what's called a shadow IT effect. This uncontrolled growth makes it difficult to track and manage all existing identities, leading to redundancy, conflicting permission, and security vulnerabilities. Organizations often lack the tools and processes to effectively discover and inventory all their non-human identities and create appropriate alerts and remediation. Threat detection for this is not tracked by standard security tools. Add to that AI's ability to create accounts. AI enables the automatic creation and deployment of numerous non-human entities. For example, AI-powered bots can be rapidly generated for various tasks. Because of the speed of creation and distributed nature of these identities, it becomes difficult to maintain a comprehensive inventory or track their activities. In Delinea, we offer seamless, intelligent, centralized authorization to secure identities. Delinea provides a comprehensive platform designed to address the complexities of privileged access management for the modern enterprise in today's dynamic IT landscape. Using the resilient cloud-native Delinea platform, you can have a unified approach, securing privileged access across the entire identity lifecycle for all the identity types. In Delinea, we address non-human identity issues by providing a set of services to discover, govern, manage, and verify non-human identities to provide the organization with flexibility to choose the right solution for each situation. These features work in concert to provide robust security and streamlined management. You can consistently automate the provisioning and governance for all non-human identities. You can discover and inventory secrets, account, and credentials for the on-prem cloud environments or apps. You can detect and remediate threats. You can audit and monitor all non-human access. Vault, secure, and manage non-human identities, even extend to the third-party vaults. We can do the remote password rotation for all the compromised identities, either on demand or programmed, scheduled, if needed. We can authenticate and authorize all machine-to-machine communication and ensure the least privilege and just-in-time access for all non-human identities. To further fortify your security posture, today we are introducing integration between Delinea Secret Server and Keyfactor command that enhances security by centralizing credential management and automating certificate lifecycle. Mitch, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Nonna. That was a great introduction. And again, just such an amazing technology that really helps drive home the value of CLM. Because if we take a look at just the real quick integration value, and I know Mark is going to get into this inside of his demo, so I don't want to, again, steal too much of his thunder either. But the first thing is Delinea's technology helps keep your credentials safe. And that's not only from just the general perspective, but also making sure that they're inside of Keyfactor command. Because with, again, all these different sources, these certificate sources that we have to connect to, there's a lot of credentials that go along in there. And if you're going through and doing those manually, well, that has to be seen by someone, re-entered by someone, re-entered twice by someone. And if somebody leaves, now you're worried about all of your credentials going everywhere. And as you continue to scale as an organization, it's going to only get worse. So to be able to have the tools like Delinea, who can also do the automatic rotation of credentials, that's then automatically rotated inside of command as well. So you're now really removing the human element in general. So there's less error-prone actions that can be taken place, but also you're keeping your credentials very safe. So I think that this is a huge value. It's really going to save a lot of people a lot of time. We talk about how certificate lifecycle management is hard enough as it is with keeping up, but now this removes one extra step for everyone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this over to Mark, and Mark is going to give us a nice demonstration, and then we'll come back for some Q&A. So I'll hand it over to you, Mark, and let's see how it goes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Thwaites, and I'm a solution engineer here at Keyfactor, where I directly work with all our great technical partners. Today, I have the opportunity to showcase our integration with Delinea, specifically Delinea Secret Server. Now, to start, I want to provide a quick overview of the solution. Next, we will look at the setup in Keyfactor and Delinea interfaces, and then we'll take a look at the integration in action. Now, based on the architecture shown, this is one of the ways that the integration could be deployed, and that's going to be at the orchestrator level. An orchestrator is a lightweight utility that a customer would deploy in their data center or data centers that is allowing us, Keyfactor, to be able to manage different types of certificate endpoints or services. So here I have quite a few different types of certificate stores that could be under control with Keyfactor Command. Now, what happens is these orchestrators communicate to command to say, I need to do an inventory, I need to do a certificate delivery or renewal, a certificate lifecycle management operation. Now, normally when these orchestrators are going to go ahead and authenticate to the server where these certificate assets are, bound, they're going to need some type of credentialing, right? So we need some type of credentials for that. So that being said, normally an administrator would log into command and they would set up the store and they would define static credentials. But that's very limited, right? Because that means that when the credentials change, they would have to log back in or use an API to rotate it. And this is where the power of Delinea comes in. Now, the integration we have with Delinea is Delinea's standalone deployment, either which can be hosted on-prem or in the cloud. And what happens in this deployment model, we have the orchestrators loaded with a Keyfactor PAM module, which our integration team has built, which is leveraging Delinea's SDK. So we're going to be able to securely pull those secrets from this platform to be able to access these servers and maybe even key stores where these certificates reside, right? Instead of pulling them from command as a static credential. And the thing is that this is extremely powerful because Delinea Secret Server is acting as a third-party privileged access management provider, where it securely stores and manages and rotates those secrets for privileged credentials externally. So it's all happening here rather than having to be able to manually operate those directly from command. All right. Now, the other way you could do this is the PAM module actually gets loaded into command, and command is going to be set up to be able to communicate directly to Delinea. But a lot of our customers like to deploy it at the orchestrator level so they can kind of pick and choose where they want the module deployed. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the environment and take a look at the setup. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up a few tabs here, which I'm going to go ahead and reference in this demonstration. Okay, and I have a text file here I just want to reference some information from as well. All right, I'm just going to put this in my clipboard and I'll talk about what that is in a second. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log into Keyfactor Command. What I want to do is I want to provide an overview of what components and settings are needed to be able to make this possible. So the first thing we need to do is we need to register Delinea as a PAM provider within Keyfactor Command. And what we'll be able to do is go to the gear, we'd be able to click on Privileged Access Management, and then we could click on the Add button to be able to add that provider. Now, when this resolves, you're going to see that we already have Delinea already registered, but I'm going to show you how you can do that registration if you're setting this up within your command instance for the first time. And it really doesn't matter if your command instance is hosted in the cloud or if it's on-prem, it's going to be the same type of procedure, all right? So the way we do this is by performing an API call. One of the easiest ways to accomplish this is by just going to the question mark and clicking on API Endpoint Utility. These are all the different APIs you could call within the command platform using the Swagger interface. And what I'll do is once these resolve, I'll go ahead and just search for that actual API that we're going to go ahead and perform. All right, so it's right here. So we're going to do a post against the PAM provider API to create a new PAM provider. Now, where do I actually get the actual API call? Well, that's going to actually be in our GitHub repo, right? So this is going to have directions on how to set up the provider, depending upon the use case. And it also provides the API details for that call. The other way you could do it is you could actually use KFutil, which is a utility to be able to do APIs in a singular or bulk capacity, or just use your API client of choice as needed. But once the PAM provider is registered, then you can go ahead and move on to the next step. The next step is going to be the setup of the actual orchestrators and which ones you're going to use for this PAM provider integration. So within my environment here, I've got a couple orchestrators under management. I have a Windows one and I have a Linux one. The Delinea integration is supported across both OS flavors. You could even deploy Linux into a container if you wanted to as well. All right. Now, the actual extension that we're going to load into the orchestrator, that again is going to be pulled directly from the GitHub repo. So that's where you can grab it from our releases section. So in the demonstration here, I'm going to go ahead and show you a Windows server where I have this set up. So let me just go ahead and log in here, put in my credentials to access my server. All right, so let's go ahead and get into my server here. So you can see here, I have my server already logged in, and this is my extensions folder for my orchestrator. And these are the different extensions I've loaded directly from my GitHub for the different integrations that my orchestrator is managing, where I'm managing different types of certificate assets across my enterprise. And specifically, here's my Delinea secret server extension that I just downloaded directly from that repo. And it's just comprised of two files. One is a manifest file, which you'd configure to be able to do the configuration to connect to Delinea. And then it's going to be leveraging this DLL. And that's going to be able to leverage Delinea's SDK to pull those secrets accordingly. All right. This would be very similar if you were doing it on a Linux orchestrator as well. Okay. So, and then the other component that we would have to deploy is going to be our certificate stores. Those would probably already be pre-existing within your environment. So if you go to locations and you go to certificate stores, these are all the different types of integrations I have deployed within my enterprise here. It could be like different types of load balancers. It could be like Java key stores, PEM files. But in my demonstration today, I'm going to go ahead and use the Delinea integration with an IIS-bound website certificate. All right, but we're going to get into that here in a little bit with a website I'll show you here in a second. All right, now with this integration here, you will see that we do need to do some type of access credentialing. And you can see I have a server password listed here. This is where you'd normally put in a static password to be able to authenticate to the server. But this is where we're going to go ahead and put a detail in there that will be tied to Delinea. So let's get into Delinea and take a look at that side now. All right, so here, this is our documentation on the Delinea side for Keyfactor. And as I mentioned earlier, you could go ahead and deploy Delinea secret server standalone either in the cloud or on-prem, and it could be integrated directly with Command or the Universal Orchestrator, which is what we're highlighting here, okay? And this will give you the different prerequisites to be able to get this up and running. Basically, you need to create the secrets, have an API user or service account tied to those secrets with viewing permissions, and then you tie that API user to an application that would be leveraging the SDK. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of those components. So I'm going to log into Delinea. And these are some of the secrets that I've set up. I have them set up based on the different types of stores I have, but your setup will vary depending upon your use cases here. For this example here, we're going to use this IIS secret. And what I'm really interested about is the secret number and the actual field I'm going to be calling from this secret to be able to pull that information from Delinea so it can be used by the orchestrator for access. And we'll see that a little bit later on in the demonstration. Now here, if I go to my sharing tab, you're going to see that I have a service account listed here, which has viewing permissions. This is where I would have a service account created under access. And this account has basically that application account or service type of permissions that are needed so we can actually bind this to that application, which has the SDK functionality. So if we go into settings and we go over to tools and integrations and we go to SDA client, under client onboarding, this is where that application is set up. And I've got that service account bound to it. So at a high level here, you have your secrets ready. They're going to be tied to that service account, which has viewing permissions, which is bound to this API application SDK integration for client onboarding. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this in action. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring up a website here. I have a few different websites for this integration. I'll just do IIS today. And you can see that Web Server 2 is hosted on IIS. The certificate is managed by Keyfactor, and the certificate is going to be stored in the My Windows Certificate store, right? If we actually take a look at this certificate here, we'll just grab some identifiable information where I'm just going to grab the serial number. And you can see it's 470F, okay? So this is going to be referenceable within Keyfactor command because we have a certificate store set up, which is tied to this integration through orchestration to be able to not only discover that inventory, but also manage that inventory, all right? So if we go back over to certificate stores and I go ahead and do a view of the certificates in this inventory, right? So you can see I have two different certificates here. This is actually my Keyfactor command certificate. And then this is the actual one tied to that Web Server 2. And you can see there, it says 470F, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and edit this certificate store, right? This is our integration with that endpoint. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my server password. So right now it's just using a static credential, like password 1, for example. But instead, I'm going to go ahead and pull it from Delinea, all right? So I'm going to go over to my little text document here, and I'm going to grab the unique configuration that's going to call Delinea to pull the credentials from that integration. All right. And this is what we saw earlier, right? So if we come back into Delinea, we go back into secrets and we go back to IIS, you can see that that's secrets number 3, and that will be the field we're going to go ahead and pull from, right? So you can see it here says secret ID 3, then that's the field, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm just going to drop that in there as my password. And then we're going to click on save. Now, before I save it, you're going to see there is an option here for load from PAM provider. That is if you're using the Delinea integration and you're directly connecting it to command, where the binaries for that extension are loaded into command instead, right? But here we're instructing the orchestrator to use this unique definition to pull it from Delinea at the framework level. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. All right, so let's go ahead and renew this certificate. So I'm going to go ahead and do a renewal. So let's just bring up that inventory again. And we'll go ahead and select that certificate there, and we'll do a query. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to renew the certificate. Now I could just click on continue and go ahead and renew it against the same certificate authority and template as it was issued before, or I can configure it to view my configuration settings. Now here I can go ahead and select the template in CA that I want to use. Here I'm actually using an RSA certificate template tied to my EJBCA PQC lab that any customer could spin up for free to kind of get some hands-on exposure to post-quantum cryptography. Or I have my existing EJBCA CA, which is a Keyfactor private CA. Or it could even be like AWS, or if I had let's say a public certificate authority connected, I could also, use that certificate authority as well. I could change my CN information, my DN information, my SAN. That rich metadata would be associated, and then I can go ahead and download it directly into that certificate store. Now, I just want to show you the settings I have here, and we could deliver this certificate to multiple endpoints under orchestration. But in this case here, I'm just going to override that existing certificate for that web server and then click on enroll. All right. Now, what's going to happen is this is where the Delinea integration comes into play, right? And what we're going to see is that once this certificate gets minted, it's going to go ahead and create a job that our orchestrator will pick up. So if we go to orchestrator jobs, we're going to see an immediate job sitting here that basically says that our orchestrator for this specific integration is going to go ahead and pick that job up to deliver that certificate to that endpoint. And that's where the Delinea integration comes in, right? Because Delinea is managing the secrets, it's automatically rotating them. So whenever this type of procedure happens where we need to authenticate to that server or maybe even to a key store, which I'll show you guys here in a minute, we're going to see that the secret will be pulled based off that configuration we defined within the certificate store. So I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this, and we should see that that immediate job has been processed. And that means that the certificate should now be in inventory, and it should be delivered to that endpoint. So if we go back to our certificate stores, and we go back to our inventory for that store, we'll just take a look at that. We should see that the serial number has changed, right? So let's go back to that certificate. So now we're going to see it's 8B17, right? And if we go back over to our website here, and I'll just do a hard refresh of the site, okay, we should see that's being reflected, right? So if we go to certificate and we'll go to details and we'll click on serial number, we can see that that's there, right? So this is just, proving as part of the demonstration that we were able to authenticate to the server where instead of the credentials being managed in Keyfactor, they're being pulled directly from Delinea secret server, right? Which is extremely powerful. All right. Now, the other thing I do want to mention is you probably noticed I had some other integrations here, like with a load balancer. This could be like Citrix or F5. It could also be like an Nginx website, or even maybe my IDP, which is pulling a certificate from a Java key store. These are all, different integrations that have possibility with Delinea, right? And if you wanted to see all the different types of integrations we have, you can get into our GitHub repo, right? You can click on Keyfactor, and right here, these are all the different type of orchestration options that you could deploy, right? That would be deployed directly into that extensions folder where you could configure it to, leverage Delinea as your PAM provider, right? But one more thing I want to show you is, let's say you have it on a Linux server, for example, right? So if we go back to certificate stores, you can see that I have a couple different Java-based certificate endpoints, right? So in this case here, this is actually my Nginx website, right? And what's unique about Nginx is that you may not only be managing a certificate where you have to access the server with a password, but also the key store as well, right? So this could be maybe the same secret or a different secret, depending upon how you're managing that within the Delinea platform. The other thing I will mention is that if you are doing the integration at the command level, then when you're connecting to local certificate authorities, like I have different ones here registered, the way you connect locally can also be managed with a secret as well. So for example, I have this Microsoft CA that's local. I can go over to my authentication method and I can say, oh, I want to explicitly connect with a user and password, and I could, pull that from my PAM provider as well. So what it comes down to is that depending upon your use case, you would deploy the PAM module to the command component that you want to leverage. So you could do it at the orchestrator level, or you could do it at the command level, right? It's all about how you want the integration to flow. If it's at the command level, command will talk directly to Delinea, but it really depends upon where Delinea is being hosted as a standalone solution, either on-prem or in the cloud, or it could be deployed at the orchestrator level, which is what we highlighted today. All right. So thank you very much for watching the demonstration. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Mark, for that. That's one of my favorite presentations I've seen him do. It's great to be able to see how everything comes together. So in the last couple of minutes here, I just want to remind you, if you take nothing away from today, please remember these three things. One, you'll never forget that your sources of certificates are growing, which also means you have an increasing number of credentials that you have to be managing. And being able to manage both your certificates and your credentials is essential to your growth and security. And that's why we have a great partnership with Delinea, where we can provide automated credential rotation and management, which is going to help keep your Keyfactor command connected to all of your certificate sources. So we did have one question come in real quick. And Mark, if I can have you pop off of mute to take this question. It is, let me get to the right screen here. Is Delinea supported in every command integration, and how can I tell?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the best way to tell is to go directly into our GitHub repo and take a look at the integration itself. And if it's supported, there'll be a section in there for the PAM module. And most of them do support that type of functionality.
Okay, great. And I just posted inside the announcement so you guys will be able to see this. This is a direct link to our Delinea GitHub repo, but then you can also go up to our larger repository. If you dive into any of the other integrations, you will see there's a section, as Mark mentioned, where it mentions whether it is going to be able to work with the PAM. So with that, we are at time. So Nonna, thank you very much. Mark, thank you very much as well. Thank you all for attending today. And remember, this is a part of a series, so we will be doing these more often to show off some of our other partnerships. So if you have any questions, please connect with us on LinkedIn, and we'll see you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.